We finally got some new information about the Switch 2, and it was full of great reveals and some less than great information. So today I'm going to recap some of the best and worst parts of the Direct, starting off with some of the biggest game reveals, the first being Mario Kart World. The first time we saw this was at the Switch 2 reveal trailer, and I have been hyped since the moment I saw it. The last two Mario Kart games we got were Mario Kart Tour and Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, neither of which really count. So the last new Mario Kart we got was Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, and as much as I love Mario Kart 8 and everything they've added to the game, it has been too long since we got something new, and the game looks incredible. The new character designs look really good. I love how Nintendo isn't afraid to redesign their characters. When Mario Wonder came out, I thought it was just going to be a redesign for that game, but it's nice to see they're keeping that similar art style and putting it in more of their games. From what I've gathered from the trailer, you can still customize your karts, and there's a bunch of new mechanics like wall riding, grinding, and it looks like customizing your character's outfits that make this look like a major step forward for the series that I'm excited for. There are a ton of returning characters to the game and a bunch of weird choices that I really like the cow from Moo Moo Meadows, a penguin, a dolphin, and so many more that just don't make sense but somehow do. I am all for Mario Kart adding as many strange characters as they want. Part of me is a little disappointed we didn't see characters like the Inklings, Villagers, or Link, but it is Mario Kart, not Nintendo Kart, and there's no saying they won't add them in the future. But the coolest part about Worlds is how many changes are coming to the format. Historically, Mario Kart has always been about racing, and that's not changing, they're just giving us so many more opportunities to play the game. The main new gimmick is the seamless open world, where you can go from racetrack to racetrack or drive around in a free play mode, which I never expected to come out in a Mario Kart game, but I will take what I can get. I can only imagine how many little Easter eggs they're gonna hide in the world, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what this game has to offer. And everything was looking great until we got to the price. On the official Nintendo website, Mario Kart Worlds is releasing on June 5th for an MSRP of $79.99, and that is a very expensive game. There will be a launch day bundle for $500 US that comes with the console and a digital copy of the game, making the cost $50 for people who buy the system early. But as someone who loves to collect a physical copy of the game, this is devastating. I'm not someone who likes to jump to conclusions because this seems to be the only game so far that has had that $80 price tag. Another game that was announced was Donkey Kong Bonanza, and that's going to be retailing for $70 US. And when Tears of the Kingdom released for $70, I kind of expected that to be the new normal, as most games on other consoles are shifting towards that price range. But having a day one launch title cost $80 is way too much money. I understand they're trying to push people to buy the bundle, and even though the game looks really good, a lot of people are going to completely skip it because of the price. But like a lot of companies, Nintendo has been encouraging digital purchases for a while now, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were going to continue to shift towards the voucher model they currently have on the Switch. Currently, you can buy 2 game vouchers for $100 US, and these can be redeemed for certain Nintendo games as a good cost-saving measure, and I don't see those going anywhere when the Switch 2 releases. I've heard a lot of people arguing for either side. Some people think that $80 is far too much to ask, and others think it's fine for Nintendo to charge a little bit more because that's where the industry is leaning. And if you go back to the era of the Super Nintendo, games were more expensive, both in MSRP and adjusted for inflation. And as much as I understand the rising costs of new games, I don't understand the argument for the Super Nintendo because back in the day, we used to go to a rental store and rent a game to play. Buying games was not like it is today. A lot of the games that I used to play on the N64 and Super Nintendo, I would go to a Hollywood Video or Blockbuster to rent the games. And I don't know if it's just me, but I haven't seen a video game or movie rental store in decades. So in order to play these games, you have to bite the upfront cost, and that's just not accessible for a lot of people. Hopefully they keep the voucher system around so people aren't priced out entirely, but as someone who likes to collect a physical copy of the games I play, this was just really disappointing. On to some more positive news, we're getting a brand new 3D Donkey Kong game. I knew we were going to get something Donkey Kong related. I didn't think it was going to be a 3D game, but I'm really glad it is. It looks like it's going to be similar to Mario Odyssey with some 2D segments and some 3D segments, and I am so excited. Looking at Donkey Kong climbing and rolling around just looks like so much fun. and it looks like the game has fully destructible environments, and if that's the case, I'm going to be absolutely hooked. I was really hoping for a new 3D Mario game, I can't lie, but after looking at this, I'm fairly certain this will hold me over for a pretty long while. We also got a game I did not expect at all, something that I have been waiting for decades. A new Kirby Air Ride. Every time I have ever mentioned Kirby on this channel, I have brought up how I want or need a new Kirby Air Ride, but I at 0 point expected that to ever release. But the fact that we got it and it's coming this year was enough to send chills down my spine. I don't think I've been more excited for a Nintendo game ever. So this is absolutely a must play for me, and I am so excited. We got information about upgrades coming to Switch titles, like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom getting an overhaul for the Switch 2, Kirby and the Forgotten Land getting an upgrade and an expansion, Mario Party Jamboree is getting a bunch of new content, and I knew this was coming, but these are not going to be free upgrades. If you already own the game, it's going to be an additional cost. And to a certain point, I understand. The Last of Us on PlayStation had the same thing happen where it was a $10 upgrade fee when going from the PS4 to the PS5. And as much as I wish this was a free upgrade, I get why it's not. Games like Pokemon Legends EA and Metroid Prime are going to have a Switch 2 edition, which I assume are just going to run better. And Metroid Prime specifically is going to have some unique control features for the Switch 2, and I am really looking forward to playing through it with these unique controls. Of course, we can't talk about the Switch 2 without addressing the Switch 2. Of course, this is a brand new console, so there's going to be a ton of upgrades, and the Switch 2 was not holding back at all. The console has a 1080p screen, it can run up to 120 frames per second, and considering I was expecting this to be 60, I am ecstatic. The screen itself is an OLED, and I'm kinda disappointed by that, but at the same time, it's fine. And when it's docked, it can play up to 4K. And I am so excited for how good these games are going to look. But what I'm most excited for are the new Joy-Con 2s. The Joy-Cons connect magnetically to the Switch, which I think is an interesting idea. I don't love the location of the button to release it. I feel like I'm going to accidentally detach my Joy-Con while playing, but I'm gonna have to wait till I have one in my hand to find out. But the coolest feature is the new mouse controls for the Joy-Con. The more I think about it, the more interested I am in this idea. Even though I'm a die-hard retro gaming fan, one thing I do a lot is play on my PC. And I'm a big fan of using a mouse and keyboard for playing, and having the option to play games like Metroid Prime 4 using the Joy-Con as a mouse seems incredible. I am skeptical because I don't know how this is going to work, but it opens the door for a ton of games that are PC only to come over to the Switch 2 a lot easier. There were a ton of other things announced too, like the Switch 2 camera, which I don't know if I'm gonna use. I love that Nintendo is going that direction, it seems like a logical jump, but by this point, everything uses Discord. Whether you're on PS5 or PC, you can just hop into a Discord call and talk to your friends. And the fact that Nintendo is building their own in-house system is kind of strange. I'm not surprised by it because it is Nintendo, of course, but I don't think I'm gonna go out and purchase the Nintendo Switch camera because it's $50, and honestly, I don't think I'm gonna use it all that much. The system itself has a USB-C port on both the top and bottom of the console, which is so nice. I don't usually play my Switch in tabletop mode, but when I do, I would love the ability to charge my console while I play. And this means I can have two things plugged into my Switch at any given time, and I am a fan of that. And the console itself is going to be sold for $450. And I understand why it costs as much as it does, but that is still pretty expensive for a new console, especially if you're charging $80 for Mario Kart if you don't get the bundle. Don't get me wrong, I'm still going to get it, but I'm starting to get the same vibe that happened with the 3DS, where a lot of people aren't going to see the need to upgrade until down the line, and I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo decided to drop the price of this or the games down the line. Because for a lot of people, this is an expensive console. There were a bunch of other things announced during this direct, like a new wheelchair basketball game, which looks fine. I feel like it's one of those games I'll pick up and play every so often, but I don't see this becoming one of Nintendo's new big IPs. There is a bunch of third-party support, whether it's Cyberpunk 2077 or Elden Ring, and even a brand new FromSoft game that's going to be exclusive to the Switch 2. And of course, we can't forget about the long-awaited reveal of Silksong and Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4, which really highlighted that Nintendo isn't trying to shy away from third-party support, and I absolutely love that. The Switch had some third-party support pretty early on into the console with games like Skyrim, and somehow we didn't get an announcement for a new port of Skyrim, which is honestly shocking, but as someone who loves the flexibility to be able to play their games on the go, I'm really glad that Nintendo is getting some notable IPs from day one. Of course, one of the biggest reveals was the fact that GameCube games are going to be coming to NSO on the Switch 2, with the initial lineup being Soul Calibur 2, F-Zero GX, and Wind Waker. Honestly, seeing F-Zero get any amount of love is really nice to me, so I'm happy about this. And they also announced a ton of new games will be coming to the service after launch, and even though this was inevitable, I'm still so excited. I knew eventually this would happen for NSO, but seeing it and having a concrete release date just feels so good. Another great announcement was the return of download play from the DS era, so as long as you own a game, you can play it with friends as long as they're close enough to the console to enjoy it with you. Nintendo has always been a staple in couch co-op, and though this is a very expensive way to do it, only having to have one person own a copy of the game is always nice. Growing up, download play was so nice for games like Mario Kart DS, and I'm so glad it's making a return on these new consoles, even though I don't know how useful it's going to be. But overall, I think the Switch 2 is going to be an incredible console. My first video ever on this channel was talking about how Nintendo is going to have a hard time one-upping the Switch, and I stand by that because the Switch was an absolute monster hit, but the Switch 2 doesn't look bad at all. The price of the console and the games is a huge dividing factor for fans right now, and I don't see that going away anytime soon, and the upgrade costs for Switch games are something that I'm concerned about for the future, but overall, I'm a mix of concerned and excited. I'm still gonna get it, and if we hit 100,000 by the time it releases, I'll give one away. So if you want it, make sure to drop a comment about why you want it. Okay, bye.